Welcome. Settle in for this lecture, broadcast not from your world, but straight from the lightless theater of the deep. Today, we are going to dissect the immutable laws of the dead and the new, sovereign power who's come to enforce them. Let's get right into the articles of this grim decree. Right, so this single line, pulled from the underworld's own archives, it pretty much sets the entire stage for us. It takes a being once thought of as a world-ending threat and just dismisses him, calls him a footnote. To really get our heads around this huge shift in power, we first have to understand the fractured reality that made him possible in the first place. Okay, so just picture this. For eons, reality itself has been caught in this philosophical stalemate. We're not talking about a war with armies and weapons, but a war of pure concepts, all fighting for supremacy. It's a conflict they call the dialectic of the abyss. So on one side, you've got Glaucus, the king. He represents the absolute yes of order. Total idealist, treats the whole world like it's his personal cosmic laboratory. And his polar opposite? That's the shadow, the absolute no. This thing is a spirit born from pure denial, and it wields this stuff called necrotic flux. Think of it as anti-life energy, to just dissolve existence. Their endless grinding war created this massive power vacuum, a deep wound in the fabric of reality. And right into that wound, into that chaos, a third party just creeps in. But he's not some titan born from a cosmic principle. Nope. He's something else entirely. More like a symptom of the chaos, a completely unforeseen anomaly. See, the captain wasn't forged with any kind of purpose. He wasn't designed. The old texts are really clear on this. He was just an accident of logic, a chaotic byproduct of runoff magic from that main conflict. He just sort of happened, an unplanned mess in a war of absolutes. So what is it that drives this accident? Well, it's a purely parasitic thirst. He's basically a water vampire, and his goal is brutally simple and physical. Drain the entire world dry. But really, in the grand scheme of things, in a war of metaphysics, that's just the scrabbling of an insect. It's a petty goal. Obviously, a chaotic stalemate like this, now made even more complicated by a parasitic anomaly, just couldn't be allowed to go on. The underworld demanded a real solution, not another accident, but a calculated, sovereign response. And right here, this is the crucial difference. The Sea Stormer's birth was no accident. It was a deliberate intellectual intuition of the grave itself. He is a direct manifestation of the underworld's will, designed from the ground up with a singular, metaphysical purpose. So the most important point to get here is this. The Stormer isn't a third side in this war. He is the synthesis of the other two. He embodies what's called the triadic nightmare, which means he merges the king's perfect cold logic with the shadow's all-consuming malice. He isn't another argument in the debate. He's the conclusion. And that brings us to the core of this whole pronouncement, the new divine decree. We're talking about the overriding of all the physical and alchemical laws that came before. This is where the old world really just ends. So how does this actually work, How does a calculated synthesis of cosmic forces make a parasitic anomaly completely obsolete? Let's take a look at the mechanics of this new dominion. I mean, the hierarchy couldn't be clearer. You've got the captain, a parasite, an accident with a simple material goal. Then you have the Stormer, the sovereign, a calculated manifestation with a metaphysical purpose, divine entropy. They're playing on completely different fields. It's not even a fair fight. Their power sources alone tell the whole story. The captain's ability comes from a hydroalchemical accident, and he wields this stuff called chaos water to dissolve the living world. But the Stormer's power? It's ancient rune magic. He doesn't just mess with water. He literally writes the unbreakable decrees of the afterlife into the sea's molecular bonds. He turns the entire ocean into a spellbook for the grave. And let me tell you, the laws of the underworld always take precedence. And this brings us to his ultimate weapon, the Void Blight. Now, don't think of this as some physical thing you can fight. It's a conceptual weapon. Imagine a wave of pure nothing that just erases the space between things. A terrifying kind of light that doesn't illuminate. It just consumes the very fabric of reality itself. And its effects are absolute. The captain is a master navigator of hidden rifts. Well, the Void Blight just collapses space, so his maps are useless. He wants to drain a particular reservoir. The blight erases the very concept of a destination, which completely neutralizes his thieving potential. It basically puts a metaphysical cap on his entire project, proving that even a ghost of liquid malice can't escape the crushing weight of the underworld's own light. So we've finally arrived at the final judgment. You see, the Sea Stormer isn't some rogue agent acting on his own. He's the enforcer of a new, absolute authority, the law of entropy. He serves a higher power, the lords of the hidden realms. We're talking Hades, Lucifer, Samayaza. They got tired of the endless binary war. They got tired of the unpredictable chaos the captain was causing. So they decreed an end to all of it. And the Stormer, he's their instrument. The new power structure, then, is simple and it's brutal. At the top, you have the lords. They issue the decree. Then the Sea Stormer executes it as the final arbiter. And the captain? Oh, he's been demoted. Big time. He's no longer a primary threat. He's now just a tertiary variable. Basically a minor factor to be managed and contained. And that right there is the crucial takeaway from all of this. The being that everyone once saw as a world-ending threat is now understood to be nothing more than a localized symptom. He's just a footnote in the story of a much larger, much darker, and far more organized cosmic reality. And so, the final decree from the hyper-cerebral architect of the afterlife is absolute. The old conflict is over. The parasitic anomaly has been contained. A new law governs everything, and under the watchful gaze of the Sea Stormer, the world doesn't really have a choice. It must now learn to breathe the void.